Okay, back on the old Chevy pickup this morning. So, frame paint's hardened off nicely. You can see I flipped the chassis upside down. Today we're going to start putting the front suspension together. Hopefully get moved through this today easily and possibly even move on to the rear end before the day's out. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to start with the front end, however. Okay, so first thing I got to do is put the lower A-frames on. Now, these guys, I use all the energy suspension parts. One thing you need to do with energy suspension parts is make sure that these faces are lubed up with their special silicone lubricant here. Otherwise, it's just going to squeak and annoy the hell out of you forever. So, the shafts where they go into the rubbers are lubricated. These gold shafts that you see in there. And then the faces where they meet up with the body, or the K member in this case, those also need to be lubricated to avoid squeaks. Okay, so there you have it. Okay, next, get a couple of bolts ready. We'll start fitting these in now. And of course I have the wrong side. Sway bar mount goes in the front. That's what you gotta remember. I'm just using it's what I call an acid brush for doing flux plumbing. Just a plumbing little fiber brush. Make sure you get decent quality ones though, because there's nothing more annoying than doing this and having the bristles of the brush fall out. Get in there and you're trying to dig that out, which is awesome. Okay, here we go. Feels good to be putting this thing back together for a change. All right, now, here we go, sway bars in front. Slip this in, line the holes up, get the bolts started. Now these have a lock nut, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a trusting soul. Whoops. I'm going to use some orange Loctite on these guys, just to make sure I'm complete, sound. One washer on each side. Go. I keep the nuts on the front and the rear. No, sorry. Strike that. Keep the nuts on the inside. Don't know why, I'm not sure it matters. But just kind of the way I got it set up. All right, there's one and two. Again, this is your orange Permatex thread locker. It's a little less ridiculous than the red, but stronger than the blue. Oh, pay attention. There we go. Now we'll just tighten those up. These draw tight on the metal shaft that runs through the center of the bushing, and that keeps the pressure right. Come on. Well, what did I do now? Side's on. Now I'm gonna rinse and repeat over to the other side. As you can see, rides nice, no squeaking. Very good. All right, I'll bring you back for the next step. Okay, flipped it back over. Now the next step is we got to get the shocks on. Now these are QA1 double adjustables. Again, I'm going to use some orange Loctite just to be on the safe side. Now the Nerd Rod kit comes with a lot of these fasteners ready to go. I got to drop your bolts in first, then work them down into the holes. Helps you clock it up a little easier. Then I'll get underneath the nut and a washer and tighten that up. Now you could probably put these shocks on a little later in the process, but I like to do it now because it helps you hold everything up while you're working on the upper A-frames and the spindles. So, all right, there's that. I'll just hit these with the ratchet, center up the and just get it tight with that, and then I do the final tightening with the ratchet alone without the electric. There. There we go. Just didn't have the nut centered in the hole properly. So it wanted to fight me a tad. Come on. There we go. Now we just get the top on. Now, these came all pre-assembled, and they used a lot of assembly lube, anti-seize, which you have to do on these because It's aluminum threads. They do tend to gall when they're underweight. I don't know. Now this one doesn't have the bearings. They make a surface thrust bearing you can use on these too, but this doesn't have it. Okay, just tap that through. Yeah, it doesn't want to line up great. See if I can push down on the A-frame a little. There we go. Now we'll put a little thread locker on that, although it looks like I dung the thread a little bit, so sure it's going to go on a little mean. Yeah, there we go. And just tighten that up. Guess I didn't get the thread as bad as I thought. And then I just, again, you tighten this up enough until you make contact with the metal collar, metal sleeve in between the rubber bushings. And you have it. There we go. Okay, upper A-frames next. Okay, next step is the upper A-frames. Now, I just had to go back through and watch my teardown video to remember exactly what the distances were here, what the stack of spacers was. Okay, so these have like a double D, 2 flats. They go through first, pretty straightforward, and then they sit right in this nice pocket, so that's nice, makes it super easy. And once again, okay, then there's the socket cups. The narrow one goes in the rear, the thicker one goes in the front. And then we attach, just slide the A-frame on. Put the other pocket, so these allow these, there's like these little ball interfaces on the A-frame here, and that allows them to have some compliance. All right, then the nuts. Now on these shafts, there's like the center section is offset a little bit, and the section that's more in line with the back goes up against here, so the flatter section goes towards the inside. Now, okay, so I'm not sure that really matters, but that's the way it came apart. So again, I've got my spacers remeasured out based on the way I took it apart. All of this will change once it goes for alignment. This will be actually kind of a fun alignment because it's a 4-wheel alignment. I'll do it with strings first and my caster camber gauges, but I like to put it on the laser table after that. Now, let's just push this up a little so it's out of the way. Okay, there we go. Now, that should be close, at least a starting point for the alignment. And we will get this going. Hit it with the old Adooga-dooga. Okay. There we go. Again, all of that's coming back apart, or at least will be adjusted when it comes time to do it. So, now, actually I'm going to leave that up for a minute, because, there we go, that freed up. Oh, that's not good, actually. This nut freed up. All right, I got to tighten that. Anyway, this was all assembled with Never Sees and enthusiastically applied, let's just say. So I've got to get some paper towel and clean that up a little bit. Get some of that off there before it's super hard to get to. Okay, next step, spindles. So there is a little, having an issue. I put the other one on already. And I couldn't quite get the bottom taper to bite just yet. So I'm gonna try to drop this one on a little harder and just see if I can get it to bite. Wrong nut. I'll just give that a little downward acceleration to get that cone to sit in there nice. And then hopefully it'll catch enough to get this tightened up. Yeah, that one caught good. Okay, now we'll just do the top. And tighten those up. Then I'll just drop the cotter key in them. Might have to go take that one back off and do that same trick over there. Now again, these spindles have the Ackerman plate on them, which just adjusts the pivot of the tie rod end so that the Ackerman is proper for this 119-inch wheelbase, I think. Don't quote me on that. But it's considerably longer than the Corvette. So the Ackerman has to be adjusted properly. And by bringing this point back in a little bit, it takes care of that. Okay, perfect. Yeah, all right, very good. I think I need to trim up the bottom bolt on this Ackerman kit a little bit, however, because it wants to hit the spring. I'm not sure the steering rack will allow it to turn that much, but I'm going to trim them anyway just to be safe. All right, yeah, that's spindles. I guess the next step is probably the steering rack. Yeah, we'll throw the rack on next. All right, so this is fairly straightforward. I just slipped the rack in there. There's only 3 bolts to hold the whole show. So it's pretty easy. I'm gonna get this one in first. Now, I do believe you put this one in from the bottom, if I remember right. Just because you ever have to take it out while it's in the car, that would make life grand. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna put a drop of orange on that. And then this guy goes right here. Just line the bushing up on the ridge and apply this one. Once again, I'm gonna put a little bit of orange Loctite. Yeah, that was not a good shot. Okay, here we go. Tighten that up in a minute. Put these guys in. Now, do I remember right that the... Oh yeah, these are a pain. If I remember correctly, The bolts were on the bottom on these. Could be wrong on that. Don't think it matters. He'll just make it easier to get to and observe if anything's loosening up. Same thing on this one. Now you don't need to bathe it in Loctite. A little bit goes a long way. Don't need to go crazy with it. Okay, I want to tighten this one up first. Grab my stuff. Those are 13s. Huh? Ah, that's not smooth. And maybe this is what I remember fighting. I'm not on that. Huh. Just got to get this top one. It's being a little more difficult. There we go. Done. All right, now we'll just tighten this guy up. Got to put it in the old righty-tighty mode. I think we got it. There we go. Now I want to attach I don't think that's right. Okay, next we're going to attach the tie rods. Yeah, just pretty simple, just line it up, start cranking them in. Now I have no idea where these need to go. But I will just make them even once I get them close. All right, let me go do the other side. Okay, so since I was born before 1980, I know how to drive a car without anti-lock brakes, so this will not have anti-lock brakes. So we don't need the wheel sensor holes right here. So I made these little 3D printed plugs just to cover up that hole so, you know, dust, debris, critters don't get down in there. So I just figured I'd show you those real quick before I stick them on there. And that's it. So yeah, just want to get those holes plugged up. You don't want, you know, that's where the redactor is. The stator wheel for the anti-lock brakes is a Hall effect sensor that goes in here. Again, we don't use it. So in this application, plug them up. Do the same thing on the rear end too. I'll show you that later. Okay, so I have forgotten to put these little boots on. I mean, the clamps that hold these boots on. So I've stuck them in there. And now I should be able to just crimp that up. Wrecked it. Okay, I didn't have all 3 dogs in on that one. There's a what not to do. Let's try again. And apparently you don't want to overcrimp these. So this comes like this. You got to flatten that out a little bit. I don't know why that's like that. But you really got to put a curve on this part right here that kind of matches the piece you're trying to hook. So I'll work that back in around. Then you just push it up until you can't get any more slack out of it. Boy, this is really fun doing this with the camera right in front of my face. There we go. All right, so I'm 1 tooth in, locked up, and I'm gonna get that on, and I'm gonna push these in with my finger as I clamp it. And I'm not gonna over clamp it. There we go. Now the boot's on. Done. All right, next I'm gonna throw the old rotors on. And I'm just gonna put a couple lug nuts on there dry. In other words, no wheel. Just to keep them in the right position when I assemble the rotors and the calipers. I mean the calipers and the caliper brackets. That's what I'm trying to say. There we go. Perfect. Okay, what's next? Yeah, I think that's next, is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm making a mess with the power steering fluid every time I move that rack, but yeah, I think that's next. Calipers. Calipers and caliper brackets coming up. All right, first order of business is the caliper brackets, which I cleverly labeled because I wasn't sure if there was a difference or not. Again, a little daub of orange Loctite's not going to hurt anything. Okay, here we go. And again, another little daub of orange Loctite. Okay. Let's see if I can fit this in there. Yeah, it looks like it'll go. And I will torque these down after I look up the proper torque. Okay, next is calipers. Okay, got the caliper back on. That's pretty easy. Just clip it up in. There's a pin that goes in the bottom. Took me a minute to find these hoses, but I will be replacing those. I just got to order new ones. Anyway, so that's about it for there. The only thing I have left on this front end is the front sway bar, I believe. So let's address that. Front sway bar is going to have to wait. I missed a spot with the paint. Got it with the primer, not the paint. So I got to hit this again, so that'll mean that will have to wait till the next video. Okay, so that's about it other than the sway bar. I did put the sway bar mounts in it. These are the Nerd Rod mounts. Yeah, I gotta say, I've built a lot of front ends over the years. Tubing chassis, mostly, you know, circle track stuff, plus the one in the Heights chassis that I did in the Firebird. But I really like the geometry and how this whole thing comes together. And you can't find a more economical way to put a really nice front end underneath a hot rod than this C4 front suspension. It looks pro, it looks nice, it looks factory. Really nice setup. So very happy with this. So I'm probably gonna wrap this video up right here for this weekend. I'll slap the sway bar in before I move to the rear end next weekend. But just kind of out of gas today. So it's snowing out, which is awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna go take the rest of the afternoon off and just kind of chill for a little bit. Get this video posted. But anyway, yeah, everything's coming together nicely. Next weekend, we'll put the rear end under it. That shouldn't take too long, hopefully. Everything lines up well. And yeah, then we're a roller. I'll slap some wheels and tires on it. Move it around a little bit, see what we got. So, yeah, reach out, ping me if you got any questions or if you see anything that I'm doing glaringly wrong. You know, people don't tend to hold back on that stuff. So, but yeah, looking pretty good. Looking very good. Very happy with this so far. I think this geometry and all this is going to work out really nice. So, should be a very nice handling truck. Yeah, it just sounds weird. Anyway, have a good week, and we will be back next weekend.